Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to continue our scholarly examination of Epic Illustrated Magazine. We're already up to number 20. We might just finish these. When I started this channel and my previous channel, I didn't know I'd be going so long. And I do these every 4 episodes. I've been doing an epic, and I'm getting up there. I think we're 2/3 of the way through. I think epic lasted for 30 issues around, something like that. Maybe 32. Have a nice contents page again. This horrible ad for Star Frontiers with this horrible Jeff Easley art. Overview, talking about the artists and writers. And this issue, we start a new serial, The Sacred and the Profane, by Dean Motter and Ken Steacy. This is where they actually have a foreword, where they give a little history behind it. The Sacred and the Profane, I think a couple chapters, or maybe just one chapter, appeared in Andromeda, the Canadian sci-fi comic book. I have those, and I might be showing those off at some point. Then that magazine folded, and Starreach, the great ground level 70s comic, basically reprinted the first 2 chapters and then finished it off in black and white. So then I guess this is probably 4 years after that. Epic Illustrated asked them to color it. They did a whole overhaul of the comic, basically. Apparently they changed a lot of the writing even. I think even some of the plot points get turned around. And pretty much they improved it. And Dean Motter writes it and Ken Steacy draws it, both Canadians. And this is a pretty good science fiction story. It's like the first interstellar crusade. It's almost like the Catholic Church, I assume, on Earth has gotten very powerful. And they're basically making these spaceships and going off into the galaxy to convert people, just like they used to. But now it's interstellar. And the main character here is this nun, and Sister Mariana. And she's plagued with doubts, as many, religious people sometimes can be. She has doubts about the mission. She has doubts about even being in space, and even her faith. She's wrestling with, mortal human concerns. And we shall see what those are. Here we have a nice camera pull out, and we see this starship, which almost looks like a cathedral. It's influenced by that kind of classical architecture. Really beautiful colors, as you can see. Ken Steacy is really great at color, and this is some of the nicest Ken Steacy artwork out there. Now, if I look at some of this artwork, I don't know. Dean Motter might have helped with the art, did layouts or something. I don't think they mentioned it, the division of labor, because Dean Motter is an artist. Of course, he created Mr. X, and he's been in Epic Illustrated before, his stories that he wrote and drew. And of course, Ken Steacy's been in Epic many times. So we see this bishop here, and, of course, just like most, church things, it's not just about saving souls. It's also to find planets and exploit them. So there's businessmen there on the ship. It's not just all clergy. So these guys are having a chess match. And just kind of talking about philosophy and religion and stuff. Then we cut away. We see Sister Mariana. And there's this woman here who's not in the church, but she's the niece of the bishop. So he loves his niece. This bishop loves his niece and brought her along. She's kind of like a mean woman. She sees Sister Mariana and she says, "Hey, have you seen Joshua?" And she kind of implies that, I know you have a crush on him. You seem especially devout after you see him. And the guy from the chess game from the first panel shows up and says, "Oh, come on, leave her alone." And then we see Joshua. And I guess he's having an affair with this woman. Her name's Joan, by the way, the niece of the bishop. And they have a little spat. And he saw what happened. So he's basically like, you don't have to be mean to that poor smitten nun. He kind of knows she has a crush on him. But then this guy shows up. The Purifier. He's a bigwig in the church. And man, this guy is like, Joshua's pretty tough. He's a tough dude. And this guy just slams him up against the wall and basically lays down the law for him. He's like, you're going to bring this mission down with your sinful behavior. And he doesn't like the fact, he's basically chastising him. He's supposed to be a holy crusader in the army of God. He shouldn't be doing things like that, having sex. We see the church organist who writes his own music, and this guy and Sister Mariana talking to him. And then we meet the bishop, the uncle of that woman, of Joan. And the nun wants guidance. She says, could you meet me in my chamber? Could we meet and talk? I need to talk to someone. And then this amazing event happens. This alien spaceship shows up. They've never seen an alien spaceship yet. And all the guys are like, what do you make of it? Let's try to hail it with different frequencies. And maybe they can, we can send them different kinds of languages and numeric, phonetic, geometric languages. Maybe they'll understand and we can communicate. Now we cut back to Sister Mariana. She's talking to her Mother Superior about her doubts and her, human frailties. And she kind of admits that she does have this crush on Joshua. She sees him also, though, as something to strengthen her faith. Like he's this pure warrior, holy warrior in her eyes. So she looks to him for strength, even though deep down she even knows it's probably just that she lusts after him, which is not good for a nun. I love this page here. It looks like a still from like an anime. Just the coloring and everything. Just a really nice page. So then all of a sudden that alien ship attacks the Earth ship. And Joshua's all like, we got to fire back. He's like, no. And, we got to see, maybe it was a misunderstanding. And Joshua pushes everyone aside and hits the laser cannon. And his superior is just like, you fool, that was an act of war. And Joshua says, yes, a holy war. So we realize that Joshua's kind of like a fanatic, crusader type. And we shall see what happens next issue. That's the end. Here we have chapter 6, the final chapter of Last of the Dragons. Same creative team. It almost seems like Terry Austin is being even more detailed in this one with his inking. And where we left off, the old samurai is confronting, I believe his name's Tanaka the ninja, and he's teamed up with all these Native Americans. They're all going to basically try to kill the dragons and the monks who take care of them and train them, because they're evil. So they're going to fight, and then finally he convinces them. He says, I didn't kill your girlfriend. She killed herself because, the ninja code. When she thought she was defeated, she slit her own throat. And I'm on the same side as you. I want to stop those dragons and those evil monks. So cut this out. Let's team up. So the Indians and the ninja and the Indians, basically, they want to kill all the dragons. Even the babies, which haven't been corrupted yet. And the samurai, they get in a little argument like, no, the young ones are fine. They haven't been corrupted and trained to be, used for war. So they sneak up on the evil monks and the dragons, and they attack. Pretty epic battle here. Almost looks like it'd be from an old John Severin war comic or something. They're really drawing all the details. So they're doing pretty good against the monks because the big mama dragon isn't there. But eventually, the big mama dragon shows up. I like this. It's got a whole horse in his mouth, her mouth. And, it's got the rider who's commanding it. And all of a sudden, the battle turns. Because the dragon, he's got impenetrable, scaly armor for skin. And he's tearing through the Native Americans and everyone. All of his enemies. So I think pretty much right here, it's all that's left is the old samurai and Tanaka. I have a feeling I'm saying that name wrong. I'm sorry. I can't find it. Tanagaka? I should just call him the ninja, because he's the only ninja left in here. So the samurai realizes that he's going to have to take out this dragon. The only way is through his eye socket. It's the only part that's not armored. And he's a great samurai, so he succeeds. And the dragon keels over dead. And this old samurai, as he's dying, he convinces the ninja to take the two little baby dragons and raise them and protect them from the outside world. And he dies. So then we have a kind of happy ending where the ninja takes the dragons to where nobody will ever find them, deep in the frontier. And it looks like the dragons are just playful and sweet, like dragons are supposed to be. So they haven't been corrupted yet. And hopefully he can raise them to be good dragons. This is someone I've never seen before, Giovanni Cavasori. It's called Mobka's Gap. It's definitely a humorous strip, as you can see by the art. It's very, comical looking art. And it's about the Olympics. And the Russians have, these women athletes who are like breaking every record. Some people suspect something fishy is going on. This is around the time when Russia was accused of like giving women like male steroids. And even sometimes actually putting men in women's sporting events, trying to trick people by trying to fake out the judges. So we see this swimmer who's just she's been breaking all the records too, this Russian woman. And she's in the pool, swimming away, and then all of a sudden, something happens. And the trainers run in there and hustle her out of there. And they bring her to this back room, and we can see that she's a robot. Wires are poking out. And this person finds them. They're like, close the door. Nobody can know about this. And the author's note, a body immersed in a liquid receives an upward plus equal to the weight of the liquid it is moved. If you must immerse yourself in liquid, make sure every hole is stopped. So I guess the robot was badly made. It wasn't waterproof. Here we have another chapter of Generation Zero by Pepe Moreno. Still beautiful art, still really lackluster writing. Archie Goodwin does all the script. I think it's a plot by Pepe Moreno, and I gotta say, Archie Goodwin's done better than this. It's everything these characters say are just like cliches or just kind of stupid, boring, bland things. Like it's written for 13-year-olds. But look at this art, really nice. So they're continuing their journey around this post-apocalyptic world, trying to find other places that are okay. Almost every place is devastated. Europe. But finally they're in Africa, and they're at Casablanca. So Casablanca's still, surviving. I mean, it's in a desert, though, so they're not doing good. And these guys, they see our heroes land. And they take our heroes to this old guy who says that he knew Juan's father, the missing father, who is rumored to now be an evil man. And he says here, he wanted you to have this map. It's kind of a map. It's like this weird pictographic map. And I guess he knew his father well. They traveled the world together, but he was too sickly to keep traveling, so he stayed behind in Casablanca, this old guy. And it sounds like he really loves his father. He's like, your father is a great man. I know he's got a wild spirit, but I love him. So all these years I've held this for you, because he knew you'd eventually come to look for him. So they go to chill out in this like strip club, cantina. And the whole time Juan's thinking about Liana from that island paradise city that he left behind. But then that guy from the desert comes in, the guy with the polished helmet and his like stormtroopers. And they see Juan and his friends. So Juan starts a barroom brawl. So hopefully they can escape in the chaos. And, the guy totally sees him. I like the way he draws this, the reflective helmet. So they escape. But then when they get back to the airfield, to get back to their ship, it's surrounded by these, fascist soldiers. So they lay down some smoke bombs and crawl to the plane. Those guys shoot each other through the mist. Total chaos, and they escape. But apparently they were hit, so their ship isn't doing very well, and they crash land on this island. It looks like a desert island, but it's not unoccupied because we see these scary looking totems with human skulls on top. And that's how we leave off this chapter, this episode. Till next time. We have a little article about Robert Gould, the fantasy painter. I guess at the time he was doing covers and interior art for a new series of Elric books, a new printing. So they show off some of the covers. So it's almost like you get a free little mini portfolio. And you even get to see his pencils. And here's the trade dressing, what it looks like. So it's definitely an advertisement, but it's also, you get all this good art. I mean, if you like Robert Gould, I'm not a huge fan. But if you did like Robert Gould, this would be, pretty nice. And then Robert Gould, this is very rare. He's only done a handful of comics in his life. He's a fantasy artist. But he does this little Elric tale. Just a little vignette, almost like a poem. And basically it's, I think it's his sword, Stormbringer. It's from the sword's point of view, talking to Elric, like how we're connected. And we are one. Pretty nice stuff. There's just really nice shading, and I think it's his pencil. Yeah, good stuff. This is a pretty silly story. It's a Chuntar the Undaunted. It's kind of a parody of typical barbarian comics, like it's played for humor. It's written by Roger Stern, typical Marvel, mainstream writer. He did all of them. Captain America, Avengers, just, nothing that great. But it's drawn by the great European artist Victor de la Fuente. I believe he's Spanish. He's been drawing comics since like the 50s, 60s. Did lots of really good barbarian comics, and they'd be reprinted in Warren comics, like eerie and creepy. Hackster was his main barbarian character. So there's just like, there's this conquering, barbarian army, and they're trying to sneak up on this wizard's lair. The wizard knows about it, and he basically zaps them with some magic bolts. He's pretty powerful. And then we meet Chuntar. Chuntar and his buddy, they were sent as like scouts to spy on the wizard. So Chuntar seems like a callow, not like this great hero. He's just like, hey, good for us, man. We'd be down there getting our asses kicked if we didn't linger a little to check out his daughter bathing. So that when they were scouting, they saw his daughter bathing, and they were just like, oh, let's watch her naked. But because of that, they were late getting back to the camp. So they go back to the wizard's place before the wizard, and they're eating his food when he gets there, just having a good time, and they've got his daughter under knife. And they're like, basically, Chuntar's like, teach me magic, or your daughter gets it. So Chuntar's a big moron. So he tricks Chuntar by saying like, oh, you don't want this one spell. Let's skip over that. Chuntar's like, no, wait. What are you talking about? And he's like, this is like an escape spell. If you're ever surrounded, it'll just transport you somewhere. Well, I'm sorry. First he gives him this. He makes his sword invulnerable, invincible. Then he does the little trick where he's like, oh, you don't want that. And of course, Chuntar reads it, the spell. Zooch. And it works. It transports him, though, to another dimension. He has no idea where he's going to land. And he knew that would happen, the wizard. So then he turns the other friend to stone. And he frees his daughter. But unfortunately, he has his grimoire when he's transported. So I guess this is supposed to be kind of funny. He's like, I guess page 1, chapter 1, how to turn base metal into gold. He starts writing. I guess he's got to recreate his whole grimoire now because it's long gone into another dimension. kind of a waste of some pages. It's not even Victor de la Fuente's best work. It looks like he dashed it off. This is, we get another Kent Williams drawn story, this time written by George Pratt, his compatriot. One of the triumvirate of great painting artists that popped up in the 80s, along with John J. Muff. I think these guys all knew each other and they worked together sometimes. Just really pretty painting style Kent Williams does. And this story is just about this this prince who's kind of lonely and restless, and none of the women he's ever met he's never made a connection with, like a true love connection. So he asks the wizard for help, and the wizard shows him on this frozen planet, there's a woman, and he sees her and instantly knows that she's the one. So he's transported to this planet by the wizards. It's a glacial world, very primitive. And when he gets there, he sees these like almost troglodytes running after this woman, and they capture her. So of course our hero kills them. He rescues his lady love. And this is a really nice painting, some nice stuff. And he goes up to her and like basically gets on his knee and offers his hand. But she's kind of like a cave woman, so she doesn't know she's just as scared of him as she was those 3 troglodytes. So she bashes him on the head with a rock and runs away. And you know, she has no idea that she left her future behind. She could have had this amazing life, but now she's just stuck on this shitty ice planet forever. Here we have chapter 2 of The Mythology of an Abandoned City by John J. Muff. Some really beautiful art. Very kind of pretentious story. I don't get it. Maybe I'm just dumb, but it just seems kind of weird. But I mean, I love this design here. It's almost like a black and white Mondrian painting here, just using rectangles and squares. So over the city, we see this biplane. It looks like the Red Baron or something, and it's going down. And so the pilot parachutes out to safety. Then we cut away. We see this mime character from the first issue. And he brings that woman in the first chapter. He met this woman and he killed her, I think, lover? Or just friend, maybe. And it's all these like very fancy looking women. They look like supermodels. And they're all talking about all this nonsense. But look how beautiful this art is. Just amazing stuff. And so the mime type guy is talking to his superior, this floating face. And he's giving him his orders. He's like, you find the pilot of that plane, because they see the plane crashing. And they assume either he's in the wreckage, the survivor, or he's somewhere near. So he summons Mr. X. Mr. X and some of his footmen, his shadow men, are going to start looking for this pilot. So Mr. X is looking for this pilot, and this guy, it's the pilot, and he's got a knife, and he grabs Mr. X. Turns out Mr. X is like a double agent. He's like, you know, don't kill me. I've been working for you the whole time. I'm deep undercover. I was supposed to give you the keys to the tower. So he's grilling him. He's like, really? And even though it seems like this guy's on the up and up, it does seem like he is working with this guy, the pilot. They're on the same side. He still kills him. It's just a loose end he can't afford. And then he runs away. The shadow men show up, and they find the dead body of their commander, Mr. X. They have no idea he's working for the other side. And they say, radio the tower, tell them X has been killed. And then it will conclude next issue, this series. This is really well drawn. Gridlock. Never heard of this guy. Rogerio Nogueira. I'm probably butchering that, sorry. But obviously very humor style cartooning. Very dense though. Almost looks like it could be like Hunt Emerson's buddy or something. The English cartoonist. Just incredible amount of detail. And you can tell this guy likes to draw. But everything's kind of like goofy looking. These like Bigfoot characters. And we see this guy, he's in this horrible traffic jam. He's obviously in a hurry. So he makes his motorcycle go to flying mode. And he takes off. See, he draws all these faces with different, like, you know, interesting expressions on their face. He really goes to town here. So the motorcycle goes to this building, crashes through the window. It looks like some corporate office. You know what I forgot to tell you? I think this is written by... Yeah, this is written by Larry Hama of Wolf the Barbarian and G.I. Joe fame. I guess Larry Hama discovered this artist. And he said... You know, I want to use this guy in Epic. And Archie Goodwin was just like, sure, write a story. Great. As you can see how like cartoony he is. Very cartoonish art. So the security guard fires at him. He just turns his motorcycle and crashes into the cop. Obliterates him. Then he pushes the secretary aside from this door into this office. And he sees the CEO cringing in terror. And then the guy reaches into his shirt as if he's going to pull out a gun to kill him. But it's a federal excess delivery. It has to be delivered before 9. And it's 9 o'clock according to the clock on the wall. And then he leaves. Federal excess when it absolutely has to get there on time. So it's another one of those goofy joke comics that Epic loves to do, where it seems like, oh, this crazy super agent guy is on some crazy mission, but it just turns out he works for Federal Excess and he has to deliver this package. I don't know why he kills everyone. Why he doesn't just say here, hey guys, I'm with Federal Express. Let me in. I got an important package for you. Very goofy, but really nice cartoony art. I like it. There you go, Epic Illustrated number 20. And I totally forgot to mention, this is a cover by Stephen Hickman, a new artist to Epic. He's a famous fantasy painter. He did tons of book covers in the 70s and 80s. I think mostly 80s. I think he was like a fanzine artist in the 70s. He did some fantasy fanzine work. It's a little dark for my taste. It almost looks like, maybe it's the printer's fault, but it just looks like kind of, you can't really even see these beautifully drawn monsters very well. But it's pretty nice fantasy art, you know. She's got a weird look on her face. Very odd looking woman. So that's it. I hope you liked it. And I hope you join me in a few other episodes. I'll be doing Epic 21. So I guess that's it. And I'll see you next time, hopefully, here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.